relationships too, because that was kind of the next aspect that I wanted to pull in here, because besides sun, moon, and rising, the next two like really big planets that I think people tend to look at are your Mercury and your Venus. Venus, of course, on its cover is going to be about love and romance and sensuality and physicality and all of that good stuff. But Venus is also the planet of femmes, of art, of like it's the sign of like the LGBTQIA plus community and the poets and the artists. And like when you think of like velvet fabric and like dark chocolate and red wine, like that's very Venus. So it's more than just that, but it is very much how you connect to other people. And Mercury is how you communicate. So there is also this idea of like, okay, how do you relate to the world around you? And I think that's why those are the next two planets a lot of people look at. And in you saying there is this kind of challenge to define the self and not give that power to other people, you have a challenge in your chart to balance your self-definition with other people's expectations of you, for sure. I mean, of course, Gemini being your sun, that's just always going to be a part of that because Gemini is so easy to project onto. But Libra is in your fifth house. So the reason why this is important, even though it's not your Mercury or your Venus, it's your Libra's in Pluto actually for you. But your fifth house is the house of romance and children. So a lot of people, if you being married and a father, this is like family life. And Libra is the sign of balance, of justice, of like almost not temperance, but like kind of ultimate balance. And there really is a call for your romantic connections to be the thing that helps you balance your relationship to yourself and to others. That there is this lesson that both your children and your romantic partners are able to give you as they get what's the right word? Initiated into the inner world of Dennis. How do they see, because there's layers to how we relate to other people, and there's people that are more in the inner circle of us than other people are. And so it's like when you like for me, if I'm spending time with my parents and my parents see me for the first time in a group of friends, my mom might say something like, it's interesting that you really take on the role of peacemaker in this friend group, and to see you in that way, right? That it's like, oh, she clearly sees me engaging in the world in a specific way here, in a way that I may not pick up on. And so with your Libra being in your fifth house, it's very much taking the knowledge and lessons that these people who know you a little bit better can bring and offer. This knowledge, especially because your sense of self can feel so chaotic, there is a groundedness that your relationships, like your close relationships, can offer. However, your Venus is in Cancer, which means that there can be a lot of volatility. Has a negative connotation to it, and I don't want to use that word, but a intensity with which your relationships can happen too. That is, you understand me better than anyone in the world. You could possibly never, you could never possibly understand me, right? There is like a lot of intensity with which you connect to the people that mean the most to you, because of how difficult it is to connect with yourself when there is this trust that's built there. It's like the people who we love the deepest can hurt us the most too, right? And there's really a call to pull that into balance, and to, as deep as our emotions are in our relationship to love. It's like your relationships with other people. It's really hard for you to be calculating about the people you love most in the world because your emotions are so strong there. But because your emotions tend to feel more chaotic, there's this sense of like distrust, but like emotionality. And so it's just like a lot. It's really big feelings. And bringing that into balance as well with this Libra in your fifth house of that's the energy you need in your relationships, is balancing this self-knowledge with the knowledge that other people can bring and inform you like, hey, this is actually what this looks like, like bringing a perspective from outside of you that it's like, oh, I didn't even realize that I was showing up in this way. I was really trying to do this thing, but I got so carried away in this one project or this one idea. Like what's a good example for this? Like, I'm so worried about hurting someone's feelings about something that I may put my foot in my mouth in another way, right? It's like when you're trying so hard to do something that you're walking on eggshells and inevitably you trip. It's like you need these people that can kind of see the stability there, right? That can see through and see, hey, you got all this going on, like, we're good. To kind of call it back into that Taurian stability. But even within that communication with these people, that your relationships are a deeply emotional thing. It's hard for you to be logical with relationships, is what your Venus in Cancer would say. And that you also, with your Venus in Cancer being third house, there's also a deep emotionality with which you create things, with which you want your... Let me double check this, hang on. Yeah, with which you want to communicate vision to the world and how you want to take in information and communicate information, which then brings us into your Mercury, which is, I believe, let me just double check my notes here. I don't want to... Yes, okay. Your Mercury is also in Gemini. So, in communicating, it further kind of complicates some of these things because you communicate exactly in the way that you shine. It's like the way that you show up in the world through communicating to people, through language and words and transferring ideas and offering new thoughts and insights. But because it is also in this, like, you're trying to meet people where they are, so therefore they can project a lot onto you because of that, and things can get lost in communication really easily. And then you fall back into your Cancer and you're like, but I care so deeply. Like, where did we lose this? Like, I thought we were on the same page, and now it's like, what just happened? But the really positive aspect of this is that when you are on the same page, it's like magic happens, right? It's like, yes, we're both so passionate about this thing. You're picking up exactly what I'm putting down, and they are meeting you exactly in the way that you're showing up, and you understand how to show up and how to communicate something in the way that the other person needs to hear it for them. It's like, oh, this person, like for instance, in therapy work, it's like, I know that this client really does well with this style of communication. I know that I need to show up in this way. And when we are in alignment on that, it's like, it just flows. It just makes sense and it flows, because that's the skill, the power of being able to mirror and showing up in your communication, being able to reflect back to people exactly what they need. But the challenge comes in when it's not grounded in that, stability of identity. And so all of these relationships, it's like your relationships both skew to step into stability, but you also need your relationships to ground you into stability, if that makes sense. It's like there's this weird back and forth there. That was really confusing, everything I just said, but that's kind of my 2 cents on that. Other thoughts there?
Yeah, so again, I think everything you've said makes sense. So there's nothing there that I'm like, okay, wow, that's out of left field. So let's start with that. Like everything resonates. Where my mind immediately goes is, okay, so what do I do about like, so that's my okay, this is a, so like everything you've seen, there's definitely a pattern there. I am very intense in relationships, which is why I generally don't have many relationships, because I do, there is an intensity there. And if I feel, and I'm not talking about like love or intimacy,
right,
but if there's an emotional connection, it takes a lot to form an emotional connection. Like I don't wander around like getting new best friends like ever, sort of thing.
Right.
So that makes absolute sense to me. In terms of and yes, I think I definitely do look, relationships need to be grounding. I don't even know how to put it into words, but that definitely resonates in the sense of like that is what I'm it's almost like for relationships I just want normalcy. Like I just want, but yet there is a part of me that's like gets bored with that. And is like, and so we'll often need a little bit, need some like it's just this interesting push pull of like this part of me that absolutely adores the security, I guess, the security aspect, but then there's these other parts are just like, this is boring. This, I'm itchy. There's not enough chaos. I don't know. This is just boring. This is just boring. And so so that makes a tremendous amount of sense to me in terms of, and from a mirroring, being able to communicate with that person's style. That is something that absolutely resonates with me, and I see it in my coaching. I see it in my work with clients. In that, I've had, multiple, I have multiple clients. Each, there's not a one size fits all for me when it comes to my clients. Like every single client gets a unique me, essentially. Yeah. And it's very consistent for the individual. Like I'm not like this person one day and then next week I'm somebody else. But I can have 2 sessions back to back, and I'm completely different in the first session from the second session, because I pick up, I understand somehow intuitively how to communicate with most people. And so it's very perplexing when the communication doesn't work for me. Yeah. Because when I don't, it's very few people that I'm not able to communicate with or match, essentially. And so when I can't, it is perplexing to me and doesn't feel very good. And so most likely I avoid those relationships. I to me, that's probably a big, when I can't read somebody, when I don't understand what what their style is, what they need, I tend to shrink a little bit because I don't know what I'm walking into. But I also think it is a trait that makes me a wonderful coach and therapist, because, I am able to meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. I also recognize that it's not me who does the work, in a sense. Like, and the best coaching sessions I found are the ones where I'm not really involved, if that makes sense. Like, I'm there, but it's more my presence that's there. It's less the ego me and much more the presence that knows what needs to be done. And the most successful client relationships I have, the most successful outcomes always come when the presence is there. Because it goes beyond, it just flows, and I've noticed that. So I think everything you said again, continues to resonate.